Dream Team, it's your boy D Neal back with another reaction video, guys. Here we are with the big debate: American capitalism versus German socialism. Salaries, taxes, and social contributions. We are going to break this video down into 3 parts. I'm excited to see this. I'm excited because the Black Forest family, they do incredible research and make incredible and very informational videos, and I love them. But before we jump in, make sure you subscribe to the channel, ring notification bell, get a video a thumbs up so it gets suggested. If you guys got a favorite video suggestion, you can subscribe to Patreon or drop it in the comment section. Oh my God!
In today's video, I'll be tackling 2 scenarios. I'll be contrasting the incomes, tax burdens, and payments into things like healthcare, public pensions, like Social Security, unemployment insurance, and education for a single worker in both the US and Germany, and for a family of 4. And at the end of this video, hopefully have a final, definitive answer to the question, who really takes home more money at the end of the day?
Who y'all think takes home more money? Ooh, for the family of 4, it might be Germany. Because when you come to all the like child care and all these different things that they get through their taxes, I'm gonna say for the single worker, I'm gonna think that it's American. Because you really just have to take care of yourself. And so I'm gonna think it's American, and for the family of 4, I'm gonna say Germany. Those are my guesses before we start. We'll see by the end.
Over the past year and a half on this channel, we've built up a library of videos documenting the similarities and differences between our native country of the United States and our new home country of Germany. And unsurprisingly, the cost of living factors into many of these videos. From discussions on the cost of higher education, comparisons on public versus private healthcare, analysis on the cost of housing and residential construction, to even comparisons on the cost of groceries. Really, it's nearly impossible to discuss these topics without also bringing up wages and taxes and the effects that they have on both affordability and purchasing power. But over the last year and a half, we've also noticed a common counter-argument, usually from Americans when presented with outcomes that showcase greater affordability here in Germany. And truth be told, you're not necessarily wrong. Outside of the federal minimum wage, where it's actually higher in Germany, Americans do have higher average incomes and lower taxes overall. But does that actually mean that Americans have greater purchasing power? Because here's the thing, while American taxes do contribute $1.4 trillion into healthcare and another $202 billion into education, Americans still end up paying more out of pocket for the very thing that German taxes cover at nearly 100%. So simply arguing with me, yeah, well, I make more money. Well, that might be true, but it's not necessarily applicable unless you look at the bigger picture and take into account all of those out-of-pocket costs. So?
That's why I chose Germany for the family of 4. That's where my reasoning comes from for Germany for the family of 4. I feel like they may have more money at the end of the day.
That's what I'm here to do. Let's get started.
How the tax system works.
All right, so before I dive into dissecting wages, I do think it's important that I take a step back first just to briefly explain how taxes and social contributions are handled in the respective countries. At a very basic level, both the US and German income tax is what is called a progressive tax, which means that those who make more money pay a higher tax rate. If you make very little money, you pay no income tax at all. If you make a decent amount of money, you pay a fraction of it to the government. If you make a lot of money, the fraction you pay is theoretically higher. And the system is designed in this way because those who have enough money not to worry about putting food on the table each day should, in theory, be able to afford to pay more to the government. That's the theory, at least. But you know, it's interesting. While the thresholds
I don't know. In America, the more you make, the more tax breaks you get. I feel like.
For these different tax brackets do in fact differ between the US and Germany. They're actually handled very much in the same way. For example, there are different tax class filing factors and deductions that can change this dynamic in both countries. Like if you file as a single person, married filing jointly, married filing separately. And in both the US and Germany, there's a difference between a marginal tax rate and what's termed an effective tax rate. That's because when your income enters a higher tax bracket, only the income that falls into the higher tax bracket is taxed at the higher rate. Now, there are notable exceptions to this rule. The big one that comes to mind is the American Social Security and the German social contributions, because these are actually what are termed regressive taxes, which means that in theory, the more you make, technically the less you pay in terms of a percentage of your overall income. Those who make very little money have to pay the full percentage. Those who make a decent money also pay that full percentage, but when
the 2023 U.S. social tax limits. Okay. Dang. That's a lot of money. Okay.
When you make enough money, you get to stop paying the tax after a certain point. This means that someone making $1 million or €1 million a year pays a tiny, tiny fraction of the percentage that almost everyone else has to pay. Next, the other major hurdle that we need to discuss when comparing wages and taxes between two countries, particularly when those two countries have different currencies like the US and Germany, we also need to have a brief discussion about the exchange rate and the role that that plays on relative wages. Very quickly, exchange rates are defined as the price that one nation or economic zone's currency can be exchanged for another currency. And the values of domestic and foreign currency capture a lot of economic factors and variables and can fluctuate for various reasons. So as you can see from this graphic, over the past 10 years, the exchange rate between the euro and the dollar has fluctuated considerably. For example, in March of 2014, the euro was very strong. At this time, €1 was equal to $1.40. Which is fabulous if you're a German worker, because it meant that you had greater buying power if you wanted to travel to the US or had your salary converted into dollars. But it was not so great if you were an American who was planning on moving to Germany, like my husband, Jonathan. We shared before in the past that Jonathan moved here in May of 2013. And while it wasn't at the historic high, the euro was still very, very strong. And at that time, he was working for an American company. So when he moved to Germany, he had his wages converted from American dollars to euros. Now, this wasn't his actual wages, but for simplicity's sake, had his earnings been an even $100,000 in the US when he moved to Germany and had his earnings converted, he was now only making just a little over 75,000 euros a year. Now,
that would have sucked. I would have said, hold up, we might have to go back. Until this exchange rate becomes a little more even, we might need to head back.
Not all employers will treat your wages this way, but his did. And it kind of hurt. But things have changed significantly since 2013. Had he moved from the US to Germany in October of this year, when €1 was only worth about 96 cents in the US.
Really?
That $100,000 salary in the US would have converted to over 104,000 euros here in Germany.
I would have said, all right, now let's go. Now we can go.
Now, today, the day I'm recording this video, the exchange rate happens to rest at €1 equals $1.06.
Okay.
So while it's not quite a one-to-one comparison, it's pretty darn close. I mean, close enough to where if you were just talking about everyday purchasing items, you could probably roughly say that they're about the same cost. However, throughout this video today, because we're going to be dealing with some significant wages and taxes, I'm going to do my best to show both currencies alongside on your screen.
Okay.
Okay, now that I have the formalities out of the way, let's get down to business of comparing our wages. For the first comparison, let's take a look at single workers, their taxes and expenses in 2022. In the United States, our scenario one is going to be single worker Steve. He's 23, single, and has no kids. His occupation is an engineer, and he holds a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering, so he has about 2 years of experience outside of university. His salary is $87,676 a year.
Steve, you're doing pretty nice, my boy. You're doing pretty nice.
So, divided into 12 monthly payments, he brings home a gross salary of $7,306.33.
Can I be Steve?
In Germany, we have single worker Max. And wouldn't you know it, he's also 23, single, and has no kids, and also happens to work as an engineer. So he also has that same 2 years of experience straight out of university. His salary in Germany is 67,264 euros each year. Okay. Divided into 12 monthly payments, he brings home a gross salary of 5,605 euros and 33 cents per month. Also, just a quick side note, if you're curious where I got those wages from, they each came from the average salary from someone in that position with 2 years of experience in the US and Germany, as referenced on Glassdoor and Indeed.com. Okay. But what we can see is that even adjusted for the exchange rate, before taxes, social contributions, and out-of-pocket costs, yes, Steve does in fact have a higher salary than Max. In this scenario, Steve makes about 18.5% more working in the United States as a mechanical engineer before taxes. Now, for the second comparison, we're also going to take a look at an American Steve and a German Max. Except these two men are 15 years further down the line in their work experience, and they have very different personal and professional dynamics that have impacted their lives over the years. So let's take a look at their wages and compare them for 2022. Our U.S. family scenario here is, once again, Steve. But he's now 38 years old and has been promoted to senior engineer. With 15 years of experience under his belt, he brings home $154,527.
Come on. That's a lot of money. I need that salary, bro. I need it.
Steve is married to Stephanie, who's 36 years old and works as a school teacher. She also has around 15 years of experience, and she brings in $68,693 a year.
What's she teaching?
This gives them a total household gross income of $223,220, or around $18,601 per month. For future reference, Steve and Stephanie have 2 kids, Sam, who's 4, and Sally, who's 2. This will become important later on as we begin to calculate their out-of-pocket expenses in subsequent sections. Moving on to Germany, we also have Max, who is now a family man. He's also 38 and promoted to senior engineer. Nice. With 15 years of experience under his belt, the average salary in Germany that he could expect has been quoted at 99,091 euros a year. He's married to Mila, a 36-year-old school teacher who also has around 15 years of experience in her belt. She brings home 54,116 euros a year, which gives them both a total household gross income of 153,207 euros.
I'll take
or
that too.
Around 12,767 euros per month. And wouldn't you know it, Max and Mila also have 2 kids, Martin, who's 4, and Maria, who's 2. Once again, adjusted for the exchange rate before taxes, social contributions, and out-of-pocket costs, the American family still has significantly higher gross incomes than our German family. In this scenario, the American family makes about 27.1% more than the German family before taxes.
Got you. This is what I would think so far. So far, I feel like my thought process would have been similar. Salary wise, I guess I didn't know the averages of engineering and in both countries. So I'm learning stuff. But I would think before taxes, the U.S. family would be making more. Well, after taxes, I feel like, but when you add in everything else, so much different things that you have to pay for, I think Germany's going to come out on top on that.
Before taxes.
Like healthcare and all that stuff.
In 1879, Benjamin Franklin is famously quoted as writing, In this world, nothing is certain except death and taxes.
And,
it still very much seems accurate here in
Yes,
2023.
it is.
So with that in mind, let's go ahead and start to calculate what each of our scenarios here are going to have to pay in taxes and social contributions. So let's get started first with the single workers. Now, for single worker Steve, it's important to note that currently 41 U.S. states and the District of Columbia levy a personal income tax for the state. So for this calculation, we're locating single worker Steve in Denver, Colorado, with a personal income tax rate of 4.55%. It's a bit below the average, but it's a flat tax levied on all income groups, so it's a bit easier to calculate.
Okay.
For this calculation, I'm presuming that Steve is not yet making a contribution to a 401k, a Roth IRA, or has any other itemized deductions. I'm just keeping things simple here for now. With a gross income of $87,676, Steve would have an effective federal tax rate of 13.75% and an effective state tax rate of 3.77%. Between those taxes and payments to FICA, which is the Federal Insurance Contributions Act, which funds Social Security and Medicare, Steve paid $22,069, just over 25% in taxes and contributions, leaving him with a take-home pay of $65,607.
He paid that much in taxes? Man, that's $22,000. God dang. I'm sorry.
Now,
Jeez.
over in Germany, there are no local or state income taxes levied. However, those living in the former West Germany do have to pay something called a solidarity surcharge, or a Solidaritätszuschlag. It's a surcharge on income tax and corporation tax introduced to meet the cost of German unification. And although it's currently 5.5%, as of 2021, the solidarity surcharge will no longer be applied to income from natural persons with an income up to 73,000 euros, or 151,000 for jointly taxable couples. So this does not apply to Max. Like the majority of Germans, Max does not claim religious affiliation and does not pay church tax. And like me, he happens to be a member of the AOK health insurance, which has an additional surcharge of 1.3%. Assuming no other deductions, Max pays 13,870 euros in income tax and has roughly 39% of his income levied for either taxes or social contributions.
Jeez.
This gives him a net income of 40,831 euros as take-home pay.
That took 26,000. Oh my God, bro. Taxes are crazy in both places. I would hate to pay that much. Yeah, it's tough. That's tough. Okay.
So yes, there happens to be a pretty sizable income difference between Max and Steve. After you take out taxes and social contributions,
It's even bigger.
as well as adjust for the differences in the exchange rate, Steve actually makes 44% more than Max.
Lord.
But what about families? What does this dynamic look like? Well, let's take a look. For the American
let's
family
look
of
at it.
4 living in Colorado, their taxes probably look quite a bit like this. As a married couple with 2 children, giving them 4 personal exemptions, they're paying just over $35,000 in federal taxes, another $12,351 in FICA, and $8,717 in Colorado state tax. At this time, I'm only looking at the required payments. So I'm still not going to include a 401k or an IRA contributions in their deductions. Yet. You'll have to stick around for this one in a bit. But what this means at the end of the day for the American family is that they're still paying around 25% of their income in taxes and contributions because despite making a lot more money, having children dramatically changes their deductions. Their take-home pay is roughly $167,100 $124.
My God.
Now for the German family.
56,000.
Assuming we're filing jointly and both Max and Mila are tax category 4,
Okay.
with a joint income of 153,207 euros, they did hit the married income threshold for solidarity surcharge, which cost them 110 euros and 35 cents.
Okay.
Together, they paid just over 36,000 euros in income tax, and an additional 12,900 euros went towards their pension insurance. 1,664 euros and 59 cents towards unemployment insurance, 8,927 euros and 20 cents towards health insurance, and 1,710 euros and 53 cents in long-term care insurance. Together, this means that the amount they paid in taxes and social contributions amounted to 62,147 euros and 1 cent, giving them an effective tax rate of about 40.5%. leaving them with a take-home pay of 91,058 euros and 66 cents. So guys, even if we compare here the families in both the US and Germany, well, not only does the American family make more on average in wages, but they pay a lot less in taxes.
I swear
so
to
again,
God.
we probably aren't so surprised just yet in this video that the American family does have significantly greater take-home pay after all of that's taken into account.
My Lord. God, my eyes. We're going to end it on this part, guys. We're going to come back with part 2 tomorrow. I can't wait to see more of the research and when she adds in different factors and different things that we got to pay for. I'm interested to see what the numbers end up looking like. That's all we got. You guys got a favorite video suggestion, you can subscribe to Patreon or drop it in the comment section. Subscribe to the channel, ring notification bell, get a video a thumbs up so it gets suggested. It's your boy Neal, out.